Hello, guys. Welcome to the Blackpink Global Podcast. I am Lucy.
And I'm Eugene.
And today we have a special guest. We can now say friend of the pod as well.
What a way to close out the year, man. This is massive.
What a way. Someone who's had like a fantastic season, someone that we've been rooting for such a long time. And today he's here with us. And it's Christopher Eubanks. Thank you so much for being here, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me. This is it feels like it's been a long time in the making, at least being able to actually sit and talk with you guys and just kind of, let's just talk tennis, man. I feel like, as I've told you before, like I've seen a lot of the work you guys have done, and it's really, really cool to see the hard work you guys have put in. So I'm excited, man. We can go as long as you guys want. I got nothing but time. So
love that, man. I appreciate that, Chris. And also, I want to acknowledge the cap. Let's just acknowledge the Wimbledon cap.
Yes,
I brought this out just for you guys. I put it out of the closet just for you guys. I hope you noticed. So
we love that. We love it. Okay, so normally with like when we have guests and stuff, we do our fire questions, which we actually haven't done in a very long time.
In a while, yeah.
I don't know if you noticed. Yeah. So these are like some fun little questions before we really crack on. No pressure, no right answer,
okay.
Just whatever it is for you. All right.
Speak your truth.
Speak your truth. This is a safe space.
Okay.
Favorite Grand Slam?
Wimbledon.
Whoa. Wow.
Oh man, I've said U.S. Open for so long. Come on now, like I got the hat on. Like,
okay. Favorite food?
Say pizza.
Oh, nice. Same as well, gang. Drake or Kanye?
Drake.
Okay. Now I know you're an ATL guy, so Young Thug or Gunna?
Oh, oh man, that's a tough thing. Is if I say I like more. I mean, the thing is, Thug is like he's like a goat in Atlanta. Like if I say Gunna, people are gonna have my friends are gonna kill me. So I'll just say Thug just to stay safe walking around. Just because if you say anything bad about Thug in Atlanta, it's problems.
You're right. I it feels like a setup now. My bad. That was bad.
That was a setup. That was a setup for sure.
That was tough.
All right. Favorite song to listen to before a match?
Jimmy Cooks.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay.
I listened to that before almost every single match this year for some reason. That was just the one. I go through phases. I'll select different songs, but I liked that was my one for this year for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, all right. Basketball or I know Americans say football. That NFL.
I'll say basketball.
Basketball. Okay.
Who's your team, Chris? Sorry.
Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks.
Okay,
yeah, born and raised in Atlanta. I mean, I was
shout out to 2 Chainz.
Shout out to 2 Chainz. Shout out to Trae Young. I've been a Hawks fan like literally my whole life, so I've seen the ups and downs. At this point, you ride with a team that long, you gotta stay with them. So I'm a Hawks fan.
Great. Okay. Weights or cardio?
Weights for sure.
Okay.
Can't stand cardio. Y'all see how I play. Them points is quick. I'm not trying to run side to side.
Okay. And last one, favorite movie or TV show?
Favorite movie or TV show? I will say favorite movie is probably Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. That one is probably, I would say, up there would be one of my favorites. You said or TV show. What TV show could I give? I could give, I wanted to, I would say, it's tough. There's a lot of good shows. I'm trying to think of like, I grew up with like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the Jamie Foxx show.
Yeah. Which one have you binge watched the most, would you say?
So probably the Fresh Prince, because that was all I watched when I was young. And as I got older, Martin and the Jamie Foxx shows, like I could put on almost any episode of the Jamie Foxx show to this day and still get a laugh. I could do the same thing with Martin. Fresh Prince as well, but I think when I was younger, I liked the Fresh Prince a little bit more. It was, I would say, maybe a little more PG, I guess, and started to be a little bit more adulty as I started to get older, and that's when I kind of went Jamie Foxx show and Martin. But yeah, I think safest bet, I'll go there. I could say Game of Thrones was a really good show too, but I'll leave it there. I'll just leave it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. These were good answers. Good answers. Despite the little trick that we had with Gunnar
Yeah,
and
you
Saga.
trying to get me messed up, man.
My bad. But we good now.
No, that's nice. Yeah, nice answers, Chris. I think yeah, we should just get into it now. So, just firstly, like, how's the off season going? Because obviously we're speaking to you now, well, a week before Christmas. Yeah, how's it going? And like, yeah, are you a big like Christmas guy? Like, do you enjoy the Christmas like this kind of time of year?
I mean, I enjoy the time off. I enjoy being able to kind of calm everything down and at a little bit slower pace. I enjoy Christmas, but it's not, it's not the same after. I feel like once you get a certain age, I as a kid, everyone wants to be the first one downstairs at Christmas, and I can remember those times. But as I got older, it just kind of everything just kind of starts to blend together a little bit. I feel like tennis, you're either training during that time. So in college, even during the Christmas break, I would still continue to train with players who would be in Atlanta. Donald Young was one. We would get so many practices in during the off season and around Christmas time. So the days just kind of start to blur. You're just kind of like, okay, well, when do I come back? At least in college, it was when do I go back to school? When the first match? Now it's kind of when do I leave for first tournaments of the year? It's usually around Christmas time. So I think at least for me, it's not as, I guess, big. I would say my focus is a little bit different. It's more so like how many days do I have before Christmas? And I'm usually either leaving Christmas. I've left on Christmas Day before. I've left the day before Christmas. I've left the day after Christmas. So I've kind of, after a while, it just kind of all starts to blur together. That end of December, my mind goes straight to, starting off Australia. Christmas is kind of like, oh yeah, Christmas is next week. Oh, I totally forgot about it. So I'm trying to get better about it, but that's just kind of where it is now. It's kind of where, it feels like the focus a lot of times for me is, at least I feel like it has to be. So
yeah, and just on your off season, like how's it gone so far?
No, it's been really good. I mean, this is the longest off season I've ever had. So I mean, I stopped right after Paris. I think I lost first round Paris. I took maybe 3, 4, 5 days off to just kind of come home, reset. And then I was like, my body feels good. I might as well start back in the gym. And I think I started up the week right after Paris. So I was able to kind of use this time to say, hey, I've never really had 8 weeks off before. Let's try to maximize it as much as we can. I'm usually playing until the last week in November. So I got me an extra 2 or 3 extra weeks. So you know what, let's just go ahead and get in the gym. I was in the gym for the first couple of weeks. Maybe I hit, 40 minutes a day, twice a week, just to kind of keep the timing. But since being on court, it's felt really good. The body, I had a little bit of a hiccup, a little bit of a tweak in the back for a few days. So I kind of was able to rest that, get that back 100%. But I'm feeling good now. Got back on court today, back in the gym. Everything is kind of going back to normal. So I was glad to kind of, get that behind me. And I'm just looking for a good start. And we're finishing, these next week or so pretty strong, and then getting off to a good start in 2024. So no, it's been good. Been probably, I would say, my best off season that I've had so far as a professional.
Nice. So there was no like vacation, like any holiday?
No, I had the opportunity to. I'm not a vacation guy. Like, I'm just not. I'd much rather. I spend so much time away from home. I'm gonna be hard pressed to want to spend my time that I could be at home in another hotel, even if the scenery's nice, even if I'm sitting on a beach and we're in the middle of, paradise. It's still like, man, I want to be home. Like, I haven't spent time in my bed. I want to be on my couch. I want to be in my place. So that's kind of the give and take. Maybe next year I'll look at it, but I had the opportunity to take a vacation, and I was like, do I really want to get back on a plane and go to a hotel to come back? Like, I kind of want to just be home. So that was kind of my decision to not take a vacation and just get right back to work.
Yeah, no, fair play. Just looking back now, obviously we're here to really talk about and reflect on the season you just had. Like, did you see it kind of going the way it did in terms of like the results you had and like the rise up the rankings? Like, because yeah, you were like one of the biggest climbers like in the top 100. If you can just like take us back a bit like to the beginning of 2023 and like just kind of where your mind was at, like if you could remember.
Yeah, so the thing is, at the end of 2022, I felt like I was playing some of the best tennis that I had played. I put together 3 really consistent weeks, 2 of which I lost to Ben in the final of 2 challengers. Then I lost to Alex Vukic in the semi of the 3rd challenger. So I hadn't really had 3 weeks of consistent results like that. Like I'm good for about one. I get you one good week, and then I struggle with that level of consistency. But at the end of last year, I put together 3 really good weeks. I said, you know what, I'm feeling good about my game. Things are trending in the right direction. I think I ended it at around 120. So then put in a good off season, start off the year, supposed to be in Pune, India, and get there and start dealing with some respiratory issues. Like I was just struggling to breathe. I'm struggling to catch my breath. And it also hurt that I was the 1 seed in qualies, which you talk to any player, that's like the worst spot to be, because it's like you're one withdrawal away from being in the main draw, but you got to play qualies. So I was supposed to play on Saturday. I get there maybe on like Wednesday, Thursday. I'm practicing. And I just feel like I can't breathe. It's weird. Like I'm practicing. I think I practiced with Nicolas Basilashvili the first day. I was on Karatsev the second day. 2 guys that we're not playing long points at all. Like we out there just, we spanking it and whatever. But
big hitters,
big hitters. But like I just couldn't catch my breath. So I ended up withdrawing from there instead of playing. I was like, and in my head, I said, I don't want to start off the year on the wrong foot. I don't want to start off the year just playing just because I'm here to play. I ended the year going really strong last year. Let me just pull here, go to Auckland, see if I can get myself completely healthy, and then, try to put my best foot forward. Because I didn't want to just, step foot out there, see if I could hold serve, but kind of start doing the wrong stuff, building bad habits. So I pulled from there, went to Auckland, qualied in. I think I played Dusan Lajovic first round, and then Joao Souza second round. So good quality guys. And I qualied in, and then I won. No, maybe I beat Souza, might have been first round main draw. I qualied in and won a round. Can't remember. I know I played Lajovic. I know I played Souza, and I lost to David Goffin. So I was like, all right, that's a good start. Good start to the year. I'm glad I withdrew from Pune. I'm starting on the right foot. And then I win my first round in Australia. It was against Sun Woo Kwan. It's the second Grand Slam main draw win I ever had. So at this point, the confidence is really starting to grow that, I'm doing the right stuff, and, that elusive top 100 could be on the cards. So that it started to kind of play in my mind a little bit of being like, I'm close to being in the top 100. I'm putting together, good matches consistently. This is great. And then I think I got to about 102 going into the Monterey Challenger. I lost first round in straight sets to Guido Andreozzi. I then go to Acapulco the next week, still sitting at 102. 1 win away from being top 100, something that I had dreamed about since, for years. I play Feliciano Lopez. I have set points in the first. He saves them, and then he goes on to win in straight sets. So now I'm looking at like, okay, I got Indian Wells coming up, and players oftentimes we know when points are falling off, especially at like 100, 110, 105 ranking. Like the year before, I qualified in the Indian Wells and won a round. So I know those points are coming up this Indian Wells. I'm in qualies again. Those 2 weeks in Mexico, I just didn't feel like I played well. I felt like I was in my head about top 100. I was a little tight. And in Indian Wells, I lost to Maximilian Martyr first round qualies. And I was like, even though I lost in 3. I felt like my game was kind of coming back. I felt like I wasn't really in my head as much anymore. Like, yeah, of course I wanted to win, but I wasn't so obsessed with like the result. I was just going out playing good tennis again. I lost in 3. And then I said, all right, I was 102 for 3 weeks, lost first round every single one. I know I think I dropped to like 120 something going into Miami, back to kind of where I started the year. And I said, all right, I'm just going to delete the rankings app off my phone. I know it's not one match away anymore. I got to put together some wins. So I'm done checking my live rankings. I have no idea where I am. I'm just going to go out and play. And then Miami comes, just kind of right on cue. It's like Miami, I end up qualifying in a quarterfinal. I think I qualified in. I beat Kudla first round, George second round. I think I was down a set and a break in that one. Came back and won that. So then I'm kind of like, well, if I was 102 with quali in, won a round of Indian Wells, but I lost it. Well, I just qualified in and won 2 rounds in Miami. Is that top 100? And I wanted to check it, but I said, I'm not going to check it. I'm just going to keep going. So then I thought I had it after George in my head, but I said, I'm not going to check it. I said, somebody will tell me. If I'm top 100, somebody's going to tell me. I'm just not going to check it. So then I end up winning my 3rd round against Barrere. And after the match, that's when I found out I was top 100. And then it just felt like a massive weight had just lifted off my shoulders. It felt like I was like, I just completely, that burden of trying to be being 102, 102, 102 for 3 straight weeks and not getting a win, not even barely getting a set, just finally was like, wow, like I did it. I threw it. I got the weight off my shoulders. I won my next round against Manarino, fell to Medvedev. And then from that point on, I felt like I was just playing free because after the thing that also is a big thing was I wasn't top 100 as like 97 after Miami or like 98, where it's like one bad week could send you back. I was like 85 after Miami. I was after Miami happened, I finally checked it. I was like 85. So then I'm like, all right, I got a little bit of cushion. I can just play free. I went to Korea. I think went up. I think I did well in 2 125s there, played some challengers there, did decently well. And then I think after that, I was like 75. So then like, I'm just like, hey man, let's just play tennis. Like that whole top 100 thing is gone now. Like I can just focus on doing the right stuff, playing tennis and playing free. And I think that's when things started to turn for me. I wasn't obsessing over what my ranking was. I had shown that I was a quality player and I could be inside the top 100, which I think deep down is something I always questioned. I'm like, am I really that good? Like I was never really that good as a junior. I was okay. I was talented. I was raw, but I wasn't like that good. Like even in college, I was one of the best in college, but I was never the best. So I was always kind of like, is it a fluke or is it real? Once I kind of gave myself a cushion inside the top 100, I just straight up played tennis. And I think that's where the freedom started to grow a little bit more. I mean, I won a round in Geneva, lost first round Roland Garros to Holger, won a round in the service and challenge. Then the grass court season came, and then I just started to gain. I started to just gain more confidence and momentum. But the big thing for me is I wasn't obsessing over what my ranking was going to be at the end of each week. I could care less because I knew I was like, I'm fine. Now I can just play tennis. And I think that freedom allowed me to play my best tennis from the grass court season kind of on. And so that was kind of like the mindset at the beginning of the year. I was obsessing over that top 100. I wanted to be top 100 so bad. And when I got to 102, it didn't get it in my head. I think in the back of my mind was like, oh man, there've been a lot of really good guys to get close and never make top 100. Am I going to be kind of like that? Just a lot of negative thoughts started to come. And once I kind of broke through that barrier and kind of gave myself a cushion, I didn't even think anymore about top 100. Like it's just more now. It's just like, hey, let's play free and let's see how far my game can actually take me. And then obviously things started to go really well after that.
That's incredible.
It's funny.
Go on, Lucy. Yeah.
Sorry. It's funny because at Wimbledon, you did say that you were worrying so much about like the rankings and stuff, but I didn't realize how much it was to a point where you had to even delete the app and you have to force yourself to not check it that much.
Yeah.
And stuff.
No,
and
it was a big thing like in my head. Oh, so you have no idea.
But even like now, like how do you feel now that you've reached that goal? Like how do you feel not being too much in your head again about certain success, or like how do you have to keep on making sure that, okay, like I'm good where I am, but I also have to like improve and making sure that you don't go back to that negative mindset? And how do you handle that? Wow, now you have even more eyes on you, because before it wasn't like that. I mean, you have a lot more people talking about you and stuff, especially here in London, like, my own friends, they're like, yeah, that Eubanks guy. So yeah, how do you deal with that now? And what do you do to help you like maintain that while you have all those eyes?
Yeah, I think for me, the big thing is now that I think my confidence is a bit different because now that I've seen what I can do, and I was able to play my best tennis when I didn't obsess over the ranking. I think now that I know what I'm capable of, for me, it goes back into the work and it goes back into the process of like the training that I put in and the proper recovery and the sleep, like making sure I'm doing all of those things. Like in tennis, and in sports, hell, in life, I feel like you can only control what you have control over. I can control how hard I work. I can control, am I recovering properly? Am I doing all of the things that I can control? Am I keeping track of my sleep, my eating, how hard I'm working on court? Am I doing my mobility? All that stuff is stuff that's 100% under my control. I can't really control how well the opponent across the net plays. I can just do what I can do. And I think because now I've seen where I'm capable of when I just fully invest in what I like to call is like just my process, it just allows me to say, I'm going to continue to invest in this process, win, lose, or draw. Like the results now, it's going to sound weird, but it's not, I'm not obsessing over the result when I come on the court. I'm going on the court knowing, hey, I did what I needed to do. My preparation going into this match, I checked every box that I said I was going to do. And now we go out here and we're going to allow the instincts and the hard work and everything to take over. I might not win the match. That's tennis. Like that's life. Like I can control what I can control. And if I don't win it, I'm not going to start hanging my head. And I felt like earlier in my career, I was so results dependent that when I felt like I did the right stuff and I didn't win, I would jump ship and try to do something else. Like, oh, that warm up wasn't working. So let me change up this warm. Oh, this warm up, I won my first 2 rounds. This is going to be I lost. Not, oh, I lost, but I was playing well. So let me do that warm up again. Let me do this. Oh, I lost first round. Change it. Got to do something else. I was very kind of like, I would say I jumped around a lot. Whereas now, my process is going to be the same, if not intensify even more, because it's like I know what I am capable of. So I think that allows me to kind of block out the noise. And I understand the reality of tennis is like there's one winner every week. It's just one.
Exactly.
And every tournament, all these players show up with the hopes and wanting to win, but it's only going to be one. So for me, understanding, yes, I want to be that one, but in order to be that one, there are certain boxes and things that I need to do for myself and my training and my recovery. My coach and I, we started a thing where, we do serving targets 3 to 4 times a week. And when I was playing some of my best tennis in Miami and Mallorca, we were doing serving targets 3, 4. I'm not going to now win, lose, or draw. Those serving targets 3 to 4 times a week are still going to be a part of my practices. It's not going to just change all of a sudden. Now, depending on how the body feels, if I'm injured or something, we can modify it. But just saying, hey, when we did 30 minutes of feeds after practice and then did 30 minutes of serving targets at a second practice, like I play my best tennis, I can just fully buy into it and invest in it and say, hey, I'm going to come out. I'm very well might not serve well, but I'm going to keep doing it. Because I know it's in the long run, when things come together, they're going to come together. So I think for me, it's just a trust more so in the process and not making it so results based and result oriented. And I feel like that's the thing that makes me play my best tennis. For the first 5 years, I obsessed over results. I was obsessed over rankings, over points, all of that stuff. Now it's like I've seen what that approach got me. I hovered between 230 and 150 for 4 or 5 years. And then when I kind of threw it out, up to a career high. So it's like, I'd be a fool to go back to that old process or that old thought process of saying like winning, I need to win. Like, yes, everybody out there wants to win. It's that goes without saying, but like, I felt like I obsessed to the point where my motivation depended upon winning or losing. Now it's like my obsession my mind obsesses over the process. And when I go on court, I think that's part of the reason, like you can see my energy, even when things aren't going well, I can be like, I get an unlucky let court on a big point and I can kind of laugh it off. Like, inside I'm boiling, but I can laugh it off and say like, hey, that's tennis. Like I'm going to keep doing my process and keep going. And at some point, I just truly believe that at some point, if I keep doing it, those let courts will start going my way. And then it'll be my time. And then I can keep building on that. So it's more so, I think, to answer your question in short, it's like when I obsessed over results for 5 years, I saw where it got me. And when I kind of threw that mindset out, I played my best tennis and I played free. So you look at that in a sample size, you go, well, why in the world would you go back to that old mindset, no matter what's going on around you? Doesn't matter if I lose 10, 12, 15 straight matches, knock on wood, hope it doesn't happen. But like the process for me is going to still stay the same because I know what I'm capable of on any given week, and any week can turn around a whole year. So
yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because honestly, I was literally about to say, I see it in your game. Like when you're actually playing, you literally like something doesn't go right. You're like, all right, let's try this or something else. So
it's like a freedom there.
That, exactly. Like you can actually
just a lot. And with my game style, like I can't play my best tennis if I feel restricted. If I feel like tight about something. Like I was that way when I got to 102. I lost. I usually, even when I lose, I'll get a set. Like I'm good for one set, or a tiebreaker somewhere in there. Like I think in those 2 losses that I had in Mexico, I didn't even get a set. I don't even know if any of them went to a breaker. Like I was playing too tight because I was so obsessive. I was constantly obsessing over the result. And that for me, certain players, everyone's wired differently too. Some players, they obsess over the result, and when they obsess over winning, that's what they do. They win. That mindset for me, I tried it. It doesn't work as much. I have to kind of control what I can control and go on court and say, hey, There's a backhand to hit up the line. I practiced it. We did the feeds. We said we're going to do feeds 2-3 days out the week. We did it. And now there's the backhand. Eyes closed. Oh, it went in. Like, cool. Like, so that's just that I have to have that freedom in order to play my tennis.
Would you say you're superstitious, Chris? Like, because I think a lot of tennis players are.
I won't say I'm superstitious. I'd say I have rituals. Okay. But I don't think I'm not superstitious. Like like when I'm at during Wimbledon, we went to not the same restaurant every night, but I just don't I'm a creature of habit. I'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. So like when I get to a tournament, I get to the hotel, one of them first few restaurants we go to, them first couple nights, if it's good, we probably just go back there because I don't want to have to think. I want to be able to pull up the moment we sit down. When they go like, oh, I'll give you a minute. I was like, I don't need a minute. I'm gonna get the same thing I got last night. I know exactly what it tastes like. Like we can go ahead and order. Like, and so sometimes like my coach or some like my friends, they'll come out to dinner like, oh, it's gonna be the same thing. I'm not like everybody needs to get the same thing they had the other night. It's like, get whatever you want. I'm just gonna do this because it's no thinking involved. But I wouldn't really say superstitious. I think I have rituals, and I think rituals also to some degree give me a sense of peace, like peace of mind. Like, all right, I did my rituals. I'm ready to go. I bounced the ball 3 times before I served, like little stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't really say superstitious.
I think the way you described it, being a creature of habit, that's probably a more accurate term than superstitious. Because I think we all like routine, and I think for athletes as well, it's super important for you guys to kind of have a set routine that you kind of follow. So that does make sense. Would you say your kind of your life like changed, or was that too dramatic to say? Like after Miami, in terms of when you cracked top 100, or is that like too dramatic?
Yeah, I think I won't say it changed much. I think the way that I looked at myself changed, I believe, because I was like, wow, like I am good enough to be a top 100 player. Like I knew I had weapons and I knew I could light it up on any day, but it was the thing that I felt like always eluded me was the consistency. And I think when I did that, I looked at my previous 12 months. I was like, wow, I can be consistent. Like I can play well enough to be a consistent like player to get inside the top 100. And to be honest, like after that, I didn't even think about top 50. I was just like, I'm just gonna play free. It just kind of came like whatever, but I wasn't like, I want to be top 50. It's like, no, like 75, like not to be complacent, but it was just like, let's just play tennis and see what happens. I kind of took that type of approach. So I just think I viewed myself a little bit differently, but I wouldn't say the life changed after Miami. I just said like, wow, like that was a pretty cool run. I had no idea what was going to be in store for the rest of the year, but I was like, man, that was really, really cool.
Because not to like dwell on it too much, but you were actually doing work, I believe, with the Tennis Channel as well as playing in the tournament. Like,
I called a match with I called I think it was Alex Bublik and JJ Wolf.
Was that the first round match? And you were I think you played qualies in Miami, didn't you?
I qualied, and I think after maybe it been my first round, I had a day off, and they were like, "Hey, would you want to call a match?" I was like, "Yeah, for sure, let's do it."
Like the balance, like how was that in terms of balancing that and being a player in the main draw? Like, because that's quite intense.
Yeah, but it's not as complicated, I think, as people think. It's just something I enjoy doing. Like I watch tennis all the time anyway. So going into Miami, I had no intention on doing commentary. They just threw it out at me. And I was like, yeah, I have an off day. I'll get my practice into this time. And I want to continue to get better and better at commentary. So the more reps you get, the better. They offered me a chance to get another rep in and do another match and work with Brett Haber, who was I had never worked with Brett before. He had been a staple on Tennis Channel for years. And also, when you're doing commentary, the more people you work with, the better, because they're different styles. It's almost like doubles. Like certain people like it a certain way. Some people are a little bit more relaxed. Some people like whatever. So I had the opportunity to work with Brett. I was like, for sure, let's do it. And then I worked with Brett for, I think 2 sets. And then I believe Mark Knowles came in and I got a chance to work with Knowlesy. So it was like, I'm just going to take as many reps as I can get, because this is something that I do enjoy doing, and I want to continue to get better at it. But my main focus is still playing. Like, I feel like you see it on TV and people say, is he playing or is he commentating? I'm a player first. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like, I'm a player and that's my focus. But at the same time, there's so many hours in the day I can sit there. I'm going to watch these matches anyway. So why not sit there and get reps on doing it and doing something that I'm passionate about, and that's getting another rep and doing commentary. But the priority is always playing. Like I'm going to play, And after that, then we see if commentary can work. But that's always going to be my focus while I'm playing.
Yeah, because I mean, it kind of feels like you guys. Well, I say you. I wanted to Taylor Townsend. Did she?
Yeah, Taylor.
Yeah,
she was doing it before. She was doing it before.
Yeah,
you,
so Taylor was probably the biggest reason I even thought to reach out to Tennis Channel.
Because this is what I'm saying.
Because she was doing it, and she's doing an incredible job.
Yeah.
Now it seems like more players are kind of seeing that as an opportunity and like kind of following your the lead of Taylor and yourself now. Because I think Nick Kyrgios.
Yeah, I think Taylor did it. I think Shelby Rogers also did it during a time in which she was injured. But kind of seeing them,
Sloane Stephens as well.
Sloane did it, yeah. So seeing them just kind of, I was like, oh, they seem to want current players out there. Let's just reach out and see if they want to have me, and then it just kind of went from there. But yeah, you are seeing, and I think even Tennis Channel appreciates having a current player's perspective, in the booth as opposed to the current commentators who've been doing a phenomenal job for years. But there is a little bit different when, you have someone who has either played these players or knows them really well. They can give a little bit more insight. They can even give insight to the conditions on the court that even from a coaching standpoint, if you're coaching and you're sitting there courtside, you don't get the same feel as a player who's actually hitting. Like I can say like, hey, this court's a lot jumpier than this one, but this court's a little bit slower than this one. And I think that's going to favor this player because XYZ. So, the shadows on the court in Miami can get it kind of weird. So I can speak from experience and say, hey, when that shadow comes across, you have about 10 minutes where it can be a bit difficult. And then once it crosses over that middle third into the ad side, then you're about 2 minutes away. So like just different things that we know. And I think that Tennis Channel in particular has been super warm and receptive to having current players on. I think it's been great.
No, it's fantastic.
Speaking of Miami, I know you had you already mentioned him, Jamie Foxx, who had like a very big star that was there. Obviously, I love Jamie Foxx. I was just listening to his first album. No, it's super old. It was not, I don't think I was even born when he put that out. But
which one was it? Peep This?
Oh, the R&B one, Peep This. Yes, that's
Peep This, yeah. That's a lot of people don't know his first one was like mid-90s, so people forget about it. And
exactly. And you know what? Whenever I listen to that album, I'm like, these R&B guys are very lucky that Jamie Foxx got into acting and not music, because he would have really killed it. It's just, it's an amazing album. But how does it feel like, I mean, you were literally growing up watching these shows, and now not only he's just coming to watch you, but like he's supporting you and everything. How was that feeling? How was that experience? And do you actually know him? Like
your boys, you're basically boys.
Your yeah. Sorry.
So if you were to talk to any of my friends from like middle and high school, they would all say like, oh, Chris's favorite celebrity is Jamie Foxx. Like outside of tennis players, they'd be like, oh, obviously Federer, Serena, but I was a massive Jamie Foxx fan my entire life.
Wow.
So I grew up, I've seen every episode of the Jamie Foxx show. I've seen almost every movie he's done. Ray actually probably should have been my call for favorite movie.
Okay.
But yeah, I absolutely love that movie. So yeah, that to me it's even now, it's a bit of a surreal thing because I just think back to like the 13, 14-year-old kids sitting there watching Jamie Foxx saying, man, if there's anybody I could ever meet, it'd be him. Like that guy seems so cool, man. Like I would love the opportunity to meet him. And just years later, I came in contact with a mutual friend of his, Alex Avant, who's a massive tennis fan and was a tennis player himself. And we got to talking, and he mentioned that, he's good friends with Fox. And I was kind of like, really? Like, this is me. This is 2019, actually. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, like, that's one of my best friends, man. So we started talking, and he told me, he goes, hey, if you're ever out in LA, like, you're more than welcome to stay with me. So I think a few months later, I ended up actually being in LA before Indian Wells, I think. And no, I'm sorry, that next year. So that was 2019. That next year, US Open 2020, the COVID US Open. So they didn't have qualies. And I was currently in Orlando. I was training at the USTA, and I was hoping to get a main draw wild card. I didn't get one for singles, but I got one with doubles with Matthew McDonald. But for the months leading up to it, when we knew that they were going to have the Open, we're training just kind of hoping, hey, if they give me that main draw card, I want to be ready. It comes out, I didn't get a main draw card, but they gave me one for doubles. Me and my best friend, Philip, who's coaching me at the time, we were like, all right, man, we've been cooped up in Orlando. I'm gonna go get away somewhere. Cause like, it was just it was a lot. You're just training hard and not knowing when you're going to play. Then I found out I wasn't going to play singles. So we went out to LA. I called Alex again. I said, Alex, like, we'd love to come out if that invitation is still there. He's like, absolutely. He goes, and I'd love to get you on the court with Fox.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. Like, that's fine. Just, yeah, whatever you say. Like, if you can make that happen, great. So I can remember Philip and I were, I think, and we go out there, Alex, we stay at his place. He was so warm and welcoming to us. And we're out there, we're at the beach, I think. And I get a call from Alex and he goes, where are you? I was like, me and Phil are down in like Santa Monica. Like, what's going on? He's like, Fox is on his way to the house. He wants to play tennis. I said, be right there. So I tell Phil, I was like, hey, let's go. Let's go. We're leaving now. He's like, what's going on? I was like, we're leaving now. So we get in the car. We drive back up there to the house. I pull into Alex's driveway. Fox comes out the door, meets me, and just goes, man, I've heard so much about you, man. I'm so excited. And like, daps me up. Like, we like know each other. Like, and I'm like, it's Jamie Foxx. Like, you gotta be kidding me. So we chop it up. We talk tennis. He tells me how he loves tennis. We play ping pong. Like, we just kind of having fun. And then he goes, all right, let's go play tennis. I was like, bet, let's go. So at the time, and the video is still on YouTube, we go over to a country club, Braemar Country Club, I believe, and we go on court and we start playing. And Alex is like, hey, Fox, I bet you can't return his serve. He's like, man, you must not know who I am. So trash talk kind of comes. We get on court. I'm shocked at how naturally good he is because, like, I didn't know I knew he knew tennis because he told me his dad kind of taught him tennis and taught him about tennis, so that he was very, so he knew more than just football and basketball, but he knew, sports that were global. So he knew everybody. He started name dropping Yvonne Lindell and Ili Nastasi and all these other names. And I'm like, yo, like, you really know this? He was like, yeah, man. Like, I grew up like really knowing tennis. So we get on the court. We start playing and we actually can rally up the middle. Like, we're going. I'm like, yo, like, he's really like, he's good. He's good at everything, legit.
Yeah.
And so then we start returning serves. I start serving and I'm serving big. And what he does is he just starts going deeper and deeper behind the baseline. And he's a good enough athlete to where he's standing so far back that if I serve it body at him, he's going to make contact if he's got enough time.
Wow.
So I'll tell him, I'm like, yo, man. Like, yeah, but when I had to kind of get him, I was like, hey, man, the pros, we don't stand that far back, man. You got to get close. He's like, oh, man, I ain't scared. So then he gets close and I hit him with a body serve. And if you go watch the video, you'll see I go body serve and he kind of gets out of the way. He loses his balance, but he doesn't fall. He's like, oh, it kind of got on him quick. Yeah. So then I go again, body serve, right hip, caught it perfect. And he tries to get out of the way again. And then he loses his balance and he falls. And then he gets up, he runs over to grab a motorcycle helmet and I think a Kevlar bulletproof vest jacket. And then he's like, all right, let's play again now. So it was just such a, like, that whole like time was just such a fun time.
Bring those today. Don't try this at home, children. Come on with it. Right here, too.
And even after that, like, he treated us to dinner, had me over at his, I've stayed at his house, like, just I've come to LA and I'm like, hey man, like, could I maybe just crash at the house? He come on, got a room, like straight up, just welcome me into his home. We've been out to, I don't know how many dinners after Miami. When he came to watch me, he ended up taking me out to dinner then, like that night. He was like, hey, I'm gonna send you an address, tell you the time, whatever. Sure enough, we pull up. And I didn't know much about at that time, I didn't know much about the really nice spots like Miami, like the really trendy, like paparazzi outside type spots. I knew nothing about it. So I think I got an Uber, like a regular Uber X. I think I pulled up in a Toyota Camry or Prius or something like that. And I get out and I'm like, this place looks a little nice, like whatever. So this was the funniest thing. We get out of the car and this is after I lost to Medvedev that day in the quarters and get out of the car. I like walk to the front and the door is kind of hidden. Like I can't really see where the door is. And eventually I see like, oh, okay, this is it. And this guy is in front of me. I'm not paying him any attention because I'm looking up trying to see where's this restaurant. And the guy goes, Eubanks? And I look down, I'm like, yeah. And all of a sudden, flashes just start going off, just like,
No
and I'm
way.
like, and I go, what is this dude on? Like, what's going on? I'm completely not realizing it's paparazzi. I'm just like, what is he doing? Like, this is weird. Like, and I go in the door, I say my name, and I say, oh yeah, I'm here with Fox, whatever. And then I clicks and I go, that was paparazzi. I was like, oh, we at one of them spots. I was like, oh, okay. Like now I know where I'm at. Like it was the craziest thing. And then he came.
Oh,
we had a great dinner that night. Like he's always been so warm and welcoming. And even his decision to even come to watch, if I'm not mistaken, I think he flew in that day to watch me play. And I was warming up because I think that day against Medvedev, there was a bit of a rain delay. So we got pushed back. And I warm up. I check my phone right after the warm up, and he's messaged me. He goes, "Where you at?" And I'm like, "Hard Rock Stadium." Like, what's going on? He goes, I just landed in Miami. I'm on the way. And I was like, I call him. I'm like, "Yo, you really coming?" He goes, "Yeah, man." Like, I was like, "All right, tell me what you need. How many passes? I'm gonna go make sure that people, make sure you're good." So he tells me how many he needs. I go to I think the tournament office of organizers. I think I talked to James Blake actually, and I was like, "Hey, can y'all get some credentials for Jamie Foxx?" He was like, "Yeah, most definitely." So go talk to them. So I come in, and this is like literally about an hour before I'm having to play. So I like run in there real quick, and I go, "Hey, really weird request, but Jamie Foxx is coming, and wanted to see if we could get him some passes and parking." They said, "Chris, give him my number, or give somebody, his manager, whatever, his agent, my number, and we'll take care of it. You go get ready to play." I was like, okay. So I go back in, I send him, I was like, "Hey, text this number. They're going to make sure everything's good." So then we're sitting there. I get out there, I'm playing, and I think it was the 2-1 changeover. I'm sitting in there, and I can see him come and sit at the big cushion seats in Miami right next to it. And all of a sudden, rain started to come. It might have been 2-1 or 3-2, but I remember rain started to come, and we walked off the court. And when we walked off the court, the DJ, like, it was like sprinkling, so it wasn't pouring. So some people were still staying, some people were leaving, whatever. And so he sits there for a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden, as we're walking off the court, DJ starts playing "Blame It on Alcohol," "Digital Girl," all this other stuff. So I walk off the court, and he's like, he felt the rain, so he started walking to like one of the tents, whatever. And I yelled, I was like, before I go back in the locker room, I'm like, "Yo." He like turned around. I go up to him. I was like, "Yo, DJ ain't played these songs all week. As soon as you get here," and he just died laughing. We chopped it up for a little bit. I was like, "Man, I got to go shower, get ready to play." He's like, "All right, go do your thing." I went in there, showered, came out, started warming up. And I think that was, as I was getting ready to go back on, he came around and he was like, "Hey man, do your thing, man. Do your thing." And we chopped it up a little bit, but it was good for him to take that time to come to watch me play in that moment. At that point, up until that point, the biggest match of my career, like, it meant, I can't put into words how cool it was and how much that meant to me, because I'm literally sitting there and I go, this is the guy that I've seen every single movie of his. Like, I've wanted to meet this guy since I was probably 11, 12 years old. He's been like probably my number one guy on the list. And for him to be sitting right there, I was like, this is crazy. But then I tried to like lock back into play. But yeah, no, we're pretty cool. That to me was like probably one of the craziest things about the entire year. Obviously, winning a title was good. Quarter in Wimbledon was great, obviously, but like, just because I feel like that was so much of like the little kid in me, seeing like him come there and take the time out of his day to come and watch me play, cheering me on. Like, I was like, man, the year could have stopped right there, and I'd have been like, man, it was a crazy year.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. This is what I love about, like, you guys, in terms of the black players. Like, you guys, you bring the culture to the game. Like, Jamie Foxx is a massive name, like, in black culture. And not even just black culture, he's a global celebrity. Like, he's well known around the world.
He does it all. He literally
for him to literally show up to a match to watch you, like,
you don't know, like, man, I'm sitting up here and I'm like, and even to the point where it's not even just that. There was he was doing a movie a couple years ago in Atlanta, and he had been so warm and welcoming to me. When I'm like out in LA, he was doing some filming, and I was like, "Hey, bro, like, you've been so warm and welcoming to me. I'd love to have you to my parents' house. They do up a big feast for you and whoever you want to
Nice.
bring. And like I said, I'm not trying to pressure. I just want to let you know that that offer is there. He goes, yeah, man, just tell me when. But it was so quick. I was like, you sure? He was like, yeah, man, just let me know when. Like, we'll be there. We'll be there. And I was like,
wow.
all right, like, okay. So I told my parents, I was like, make your best stuff. Fox wants to come over for dinner.
Wow.
And they were like, all right, bet. So they prepared it up. We set a day. I think it was like a Saturday or something. And I think Friday evening, my dad looks at me. He goes, is he really coming before I do all this? I was like, he said he's coming, man. Like, I don't know what you want, but he said he's coming. He's like, all right. Sure enough, I think we set a time. He shows up maybe like 30 minutes after that and spent like that entire evening it was me, my mom, my dad, my brother, and Philip, who my best friend who coached me and traveled with me. And it was him and like a few of his friends. And it was a pretty small group, but we just sat up, ate great food.
Wow.
He played our piano at our house. It's part of the reason that I love him is because like my dad, my brother, and myself all play piano. So like when I'm watching Ray and I see that he's actually doing the playing, like I know how difficult it is. And I'm like,
incredible.
he really is playing it. He
Yeah.
sang, played our piano, and just told stories. And that to me is probably the best gift I could have ever given my parents. Like there's no, because my whole family were Jamie Foxx fans. I think Dreamgirls was one of the last movies that I can remember all four of us, because there's a big age gap between my brother and I. He's like 13 years older, so he was away at college when I was growing up and stuff. But I think Dreamgirls was one of the last movies that I can remember all four of us went to buy together, like got tickets, got snacks, and we sat there and we watched Dreamgirls. Still one of my favorite movies. Like to this day, I can watch
100%.
Dreamgirls anytime. Eddie Murphy,
Same.
Beyonce, him, like incredible movie.
Yeah.
So like to see their faces when he pulled up to have dinner with me and with my family. Like that to me, best gift I could ever give my family, like by far. Like Jamie Foxx was in our living room, eating food, telling stories. And my dad and my mom just laughing at every story, just cackling. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, man, like this is cool.
Yeah.
So,
That's wild.
That is so nice.
My heart just started racing when you mentioned Dreamgirls, because this is the kind of off topic, but I got cooked when is it Anika
Noni Rose?
Yeah, she sang the national anthem at the US Open. I think it was last year.
Oh, what did you say?
I was like,
God.
who knew like she had such a great voice, because I think she's beautiful. So I was like, she's like multi-talented, because I knew she was an actress, but I didn't know she sang.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, oh, have you not seen Dreamgirls?
Eubanks, they were cooking us in that on Twitter.
You're cooking me,
Oh,
because I
God.
put my name to the tweet.
So I was just there, like,
Lucy, you were like,
I was like, that ain't me. I was like, no.
You're like, that
You're
ain't
not
me.
gonna do this.
But,
this is not me. So yeah, it was a little funny moment. But I was like, Eugene, come on, like, especially that a lot of our followers and listeners are obviously from America, so they're probably looking at us like again, like, oh, look at these black Brits. They don't know anything.
They have no idea.
They have no idea. It's like,
Oh man, but no, that's incredible, man. I love that. Like, you're well in, obviously, with a major celebrity, so that's incredible. But yeah, going back to the tennis now, like you had 3 like major milestone moments in 2023. So cracking the top 100, as we've discussed, winning Mallorca, your first ATP Tour title, and then obviously the Wimbledon quarterfinal. Like, where do those 3 moments like rank for you in terms of like, if you had to rank them, how would you kind of place those moments?
Oh man, it's so tough because they're so different. They're so different. So the emotion that I felt after making top 100 was, I've never felt that emotion on a tennis court, even to this day. Never. Never. And I think a lot of what went into it was what led up to that moment of kind of feeling frustrated, being so close, not quite getting it, dropping to 120, thinking that top 100, that's just going to have to wait. That's going to be a long ways away. Let me just try to win. My dad's last words to me before Miami, before I left, he goes, hey, try to get out of the first round. I was like, oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that confidence. Like, he goes, those were his good luck as I'm going to the airport was, hey, try to make it out the first round. So that's where my mind was just like, man, I'm just trying to get a win. And to think that how quickly things went from just trying to get out of first round qualies to that being the week that I made top 100, like the outpouring of emotion I felt after that Pereira match was unlike anything I've ever experienced in my entire life. Mallorca you know, to win to be honest, I don't know if I ever thought I'd actually win an ATP title.
Wow.
So it was I didn't. I mean, I was winning a round in, you know, first round of a 250, and that was kind of it. Like maybe I quartered Atlanta in 2017. I quartered Miami earlier that year, but like to actually put together 5 matches at a tour level, like I wasn't really sure I was gonna do that. Like just being completely honest.
That's so honest. That is incredible.
Yeah, I was like, I talk good game. I was like, yeah, I ain't coming here unless I think I'm ready to win. Man, I was going there like, man, I hope I can get past Alex Mickelson. And we see what happens after that. And like Mickelson was playing well too. We saw how well Mickelson played, and I knew he was good. I was like, man, I just want to get out of this kid. And then obviously Ben to Lloyd Harris to Arthur Rinderknecht to Manarino, like things just it just kind of felt like a blur. Like even the match point, like I served, I think Manarino missed the return. I saw it going out, and I was just kind of like, I hope that's out. I hope that's out. And when it landed, the only thing I could do was put my hands on my head and look at my coach. Like there wasn't crying. I felt a bit emotional sitting on the bench afterwards, but I still didn't cry. It was just kind of like, wow, what is like, what's going on right now? Like I just won an ATP title. Like that's crazy. Like, so, and then to the quarterfinal of Wimbledon, like, again, like it's they're all so different. That one was just like kind of, I think, just riding the momentum of Mallorca, if I'm being honest, because Mallorca ended on the Saturday. I got to London. I think I flew into, what's the airport? Stansted. So we flew into Stansted and had like an hour and a half drive to get to the hotel. Got in at like 3 or 4 a.m. on Sunday. Had to do press. It was just everything. Just kind of was like next thing. What's the next on the list?
I not to cut you, Chris. I actually remember seeing you on the Sunday. Like I was like, oh hey Chris, and you're like, yeah hey, but you were like in a rush because I think you're going to the practice course.
Yeah, it was just everything was. It was like one after another after another. It was like, oh, I got to go press stuff with like ESPN. I got to practice. Obviously, I need to see the physios. Like it was just kind of like, oh hey, like good to see you. Like I didn't know where Orangi was. I had to ask. I think Pam Shriver. I saw her. I was like, hey, where's the practice? Where's Orangi? And she was like, you really don't know where it is? I was like, no, I've never been here before. I was like, I don't know. She was like, just carry it on around. I think I was like walking past like 17 and I saw her and she was like, yeah, just keep going that way. And she just kind of laughed. But like, yeah, but because it was just so quick and everything had just kind of gone one after another, I didn't really, I don't think processed everything. It was just kind of like, what's the next thing on the list? Like I either got practice, media, physio, gym, like whatever it is, let's just move on. So everything, I feel like Mallorca and Wimby kind of mushed together because there was no real separation for me. So I think to some degree, I didn't have the time to really process it all in the moment and get as emotional as I probably could have or should have, but it was just on to the next. So, I mean, in short, I'm still going to say, I mean, it's tough to say a Grand Slam quarter. I feel like Wimbledon quarterfinal has to be number one.
Well, you're wearing the cap. Like,
you have to. I feel like I have to go in order of like the. Here's what I'll say: Wimbledon is going to be 1, Mallorca is going to be 2, and top 100 is 3. But in terms of where I felt the most emotion, it's probably going to be reversed. I'm probably going to put top 100 as 1 because I cried on the court and I've never cried. And even in the presser afterwards, people were asking questions, and I like couldn't stop. Yeah. Like I'm sitting here, they asked a question and they were like, oh, we can see the emotion of what does it mean to you? And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, yeah. I was like, yo, what's going on right now? Like I could feel it cracking. I was like, my voice is literally cracking right now. Like I can't stop it. Like this is, I've never felt this before. So in terms of the emotion, like the emotional toll that I would say it took on me, I would say the top 100 in Miami was probably number 1. Mallorca was kind of unbelievable. I was just like, what just, I just won a title. And then Wimbledon, emotionally, I was just kind of riding a high. I was just out there playing. Some of them shots that were going in, if I'm being completely honest, probably had no business going in. But I was just like, and, things are going well. So, yeah, I think in terms of the significance, obviously Wimby, Mallorca, top 100. But in terms of the emotional impact, I would say top 100, Mallorca, Wimbledon.
Well, that's a great way to put it. Like, can you think back to like Wimbledon now specifically, like how those 2 weeks? I mean, it's probably difficult to kind of put into words, but yeah, if you can, like, sum them up for us in terms of like just how impactful they were, like in terms of on your life and career.
Well, on my life, I would say that things were definitely different when I came back to the States. And I didn't realize how different they would be. Before the quarterfinal match, I had two of my former teammates in college came over and a couple other friends came over. And we ended up having dinner that night after I lost. And they were like, dude, you don't understand. Like, you're all over the news in Atlanta. I was like, okay, all right. You guys are hyping it up. Nobody cares about tennis that much. They're like, no, I'm serious. Like, we were at they were saying, like, we were at our jobs and like your match was on and everyone was gathered around there watching it. And one of my best friends, Mike, he tells a good story. His where he lives is right above a pizza place. So he went to go get pizza. They were re-airing one of my matches. Like, it was a delay. So he already knew the result. It might have been Tsitsipas match, I think. And he said he goes in there to get pizza and all the people in there don't know that it's a replay. They think it's live. So they're gathered around the TV, just standing there watching it. He comes in there just to pick up his pizza. And he walks over like, oh, what are you guys watching? They're like, man, this guy is good. You know, this guy's from Atlanta. This guy right here. He goes, really? He's like, oh, is he? He goes, I got a feeling he probably wins this match. I just got a feeling. And then he like had his pizza and walked out. And so these people were like gathered around the TV, like glued to it. So like he's telling me this, and I'm like, you guys are I appreciate you guys being my friends, but like, come on, like it's no way it's gonna be that crazy. They were like, no, it's seriously, it's a big deal. So then later that evening, my agent texts me. Usually when I lose, I'm usually on the next flight the next day, sometimes same day. My agent texts me that night. He goes, hey, here's your schedule for tomorrow. I was like, schedule? What you mean? Like I'm leaving. Like he goes, I don't think you know what just happened. Like these are your interviews you got to do. And it was like Today Show, CBS Good Morning America, CNN. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, they want to talk to me. He goes, you don't know what just happened. Like, you got to understand, like, it's not going to be the same when you go back.
This is after the quarterfinal.
This is after the quarterfinal. Wow. So actually, I think it was in reverse. That's what happened. So I had done my media. He gives me the itinerary then, and I had the dinner later. That's what it was. And then that's when my friends start telling me about it. So he gives me that. I'm like, why do I have to be here tomorrow to do? He goes, things are different for you now. You're going to have to realize that. Like, they want to talk to you. And I'm like, really? Oh, like, people wouldn't really know. He goes, no, like, it's a big deal what just happened. I was like, all right, whatever. And then that's when I went to have dinner with my friends. They were like, dude, you were on the TV all the. And I was like, really? Like, I felt like just normal. They were like, no, like, just trust me. So then, sure enough, I get back here. I'm going through customs when I land in Atlanta. Somebody in the custom line asked me for a picture. They asked, are you Eubanks? Wow. I was like, yeah. They were like, can we get a picture? I was like, yeah. So we took a picture. Like, that was weird. I get back. I had to I had to ship some things to somebody. So I went like a UPS up the street. The guy behind me taps me. Excuse me, are you Eubanks? And I'm like, this is weird. Like, it's going, yeah, that's me. He goes, it was really fun watching you at Wimbledon. I was like, yeah, it's crazy. And I've never told this story. So I'm giving you guys a lot of stories I've never told.
Love it.
This one was a good one. I ordered Uber Eats at my place, and I went to pick it up, and it was an older lady who's driving it, and I guess it must have been like her grandson who was just kind of helping her running the stuff to the door or whatever. So I meet them outside, and I go up to the car, and the grandson gets out of the car, and he's not really looking. He just kind of like hops out, and I'm like, hey, that's for me. And he goes, okay, here you go. And he goes, whoa, you look like Eubanks. You look like Chris Eubanks. And I was so thrown off, I didn't know what to say. So I just went like, oh, okay, well, thanks, buddy. And I like grabbed my food and I turned around and I started going back in my place. And then the driver, the lady whose name was on the Uber Eats, she goes, hey. And I like stop and I turn around. I was like, yes, ma'am. She was like, I had to use like my neighbor's address because my address wasn't coming up for some reason. So she was like, why did it say it's supposed to go to this house? I was like, oh, because my address doesn't come up, but it's for me. Like, don't worry. And she goes, okay. And she looks and goes, ooh, yeah, you do sure look like Chris Eubanks. Wow. And again, I'm so frozen because at this point in my head, my mind's going a million miles a minute. I'm like, I can't now tell you that I am because your grandson just said it and I didn't acknowledge it. So I was like, okay, well, y'all have a nice day. And I took it and I just like went inside. I go inside. Now, mind you, the thing, Uber, it says Chris E, but they must not have been paying attention. So it's like, it's there. If they look at it, then they could, but I was just kind of like, when I was so thrown off, I was like, okay, thank you, bye-bye. And I went inside, and then I go inside, and like 2 minutes later, I have 2 missed calls or 3 missed calls from the Uber Eats driver after I had gotten my food. And I was like, yeah, I'll just let that ride. Like, whatever. That was like the craziest thing. So in terms of like life changing, like that was when I was like, oh, things are a little bit different. And I just didn't think it would be like that, but it was nuts.
It's so funny how like you underestimated the amount of like fame basically you'll be getting after that.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, people don't care that much about tennis. Like in the US too, I was like, whatever. Yeah, it's Wimbledon, but whatever. I knew like my friends cared. I knew like family cared. But like on a scale of where I'm just like going to a regular place and then people stopping me asking like if I'm me or telling me I look like me, I was like, yo, this is weird, man. Like that's probably the craziest thing that happened to me post Wimbledon, that it was just like, in terms of feeling like things were different. And I think to your point, Eugene, or your question of saying like, you know, was it life changing? Like that to me was probably when I realized the magnitude of it. I was like, okay, things are completely different.
No, that's mad. Did you ever get confused? Well, I say confused because you've heard of the boxer Chris Eubanks.
Yeah, I have.
So
I have.
I don't know. What was it like when you were at Wimbledon? Like, were there any kind of journalists like asking you questions about like if there's any relations or?
Not really.
Okay.
No, I didn't get it that much. Yeah, it just. I knew who he was because as a kid, like you Google your name, you want to see what comes up. Who is this boxer? Like he got a son, the same name too, Chris Eubanks Jr., Chris Eubanks Sr. Like, but I would always make sure I type in BANKS. Like trying to read about me. Like I'd be like 13 trying to read about me. I'm like, man, is there any new pictures I don't like that are on there? Like, but yeah, no, it never the confusion. Some people always make reference to it, but that's about it.
You've never met him or his son?
No, I actually recently held a conversation with him for the first time about 2 days ago. Funny enough.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. First time I'd ever held a conversation with him. And we were connected through a journalist who I actually did a podcast with as well. And he goes, I'm going to try to get Chris Eubanks Sr. on. And I was like, okay. And sure enough, we're on the Zoom talking. And then the call comes through and he joins in and we talk for like 30 minutes and got to, have a conversation with him, which is pretty cool.
Interesting character.
Yeah, very deep guy. Very deep guy. He's a very, very deep guy. And we had some good talk, some good conversation there.
No, that's cool. You've talked about, we've talked about your tennis channel kind of journey into like tennis commentary. Do you see yourself doing that like after you finish playing? Obviously a long way from now. Because you talk like so eloquently about the sport, and like I think you said it, you kind of referenced it in terms of having a player talk about the game that's currently playing. Like it's almost priceless, because I mean, I'm going to kind of expose myself here, and Lucy too, if you don't mind me, Lucy. But oftentimes, like
Lucy, what the hell? What you saying?
we sometimes pause like commentary like during tennis matches, just because the commentary is just it's poor, like it's bland. Like sometimes you can tell they've got no idea like what they're talking about. Like they're just kind of talking for the sake of talking almost. But so it's so important to have a player, especially a current player that's actually playing, give their kind of view and like insight. But just from your perspective, do you see yourself doing that like when you're finished playing, or maybe coaching? Like which one would probably be the kind of avenue you'll go down?
I think as a pro, I think the natural pathway usually goes from playing to coaching. I think that's something that I always kind of thought before trying commentary, but since doing it, to me it's a no-brainer. Like I think commentary is probably going to be where I want to go post career, simply because you hear people oftentimes talk about something that they're passionate about and they say they do it for free. Like, oh, even if I weren't being paid to do this, you hear basketball players all the time. Even if I weren't being paid to play basketball, I'd still be playing it because I love it that much. Like I'm very passionate about this. That's kind of what I feel about doing commentary. It's something that once I got in it and I got to see, it combines something that I'm very familiar with, with something that I know nothing about. The production side of it, the producers in your ear saying, hey, we got a snipe here, or hey, we're going to a 2-box, so-and-so's down a break, swing it over the court. All of this stuff going on. It's like the essence of it is still tennis, and it's something that I know really well and something I can talk about for hours. But the other stuff, it's very intriguing to me. It's how can we condense these thoughts that I have that I could talk for 3 minutes at a time and get it in 15 seconds to get the viewer to look for these certain things. It's a little bit of like a puzzle. There's so many moving pieces, and I really, really enjoy doing it. So I definitely think commentary is going to be, I'm not going to rule out coaching. I think especially post-career, you can kind of do both. But in terms of doing commentary, it's something that I'm extremely passionate about, something that I enjoy doing, and it's something that I foresee myself doing for hopefully years to come.
And you're very good at it. So yeah, that makes sense. UTS, Lucy, you got the UTS question?
UTS.
Yes, we were actually there.
You were, yeah, London.
Yeah, the London one, the final one, which was like pretty cool as well. So you played it in, was it
Frankfurt.
Yeah. So like how did you find it? And do you think, like, on top of that, do you feel like exhibitions are like the right things for like our sport? Like, how do you feel about UTS, but exhibitions as well in general in tennis?
So I really, really like UTS. I loved the whole intrigue behind UTS, and Patrick Rodaglu, I think he's done a good job of kind of even educating not just fans, but even the players. Like, we had to go and have a sit down, before the first match, in which he kind of explained why things are the way that they are. And I think based on what he said and based on studies that are out there, the point is tennis fans are getting older. The players that were the people that were watching tennis in the 80s and 90s in that heyday, they're still watching it, and maybe their kids are watching it, but it's not the age or average age of the tennis fan isn't getting younger. And because of how complex it is to really understand, it's tough for a person to just casually get immersed in tennis and want to learn about it when they turn it on. And it's like 6-2, 3-6, 4 all, 15 all. Like, why is it staggered? Like, what does this mean? Like, now, once you get into it and you know how it works, it makes total sense. Like, it makes a world of sense to me, but I've been doing it my entire life. And the point is to simplify it, to give it a set time, to allow people to say, hey, I'm playing at 7 o'clock. It's one of the things that even playing in Atlanta, oftentimes I'm born and raised here. I got friends that want to come support. And I mean, this year in Atlanta was a lot different because I played every match, I think, at 7 p.m. So I could tell them, hey, I'll be playing at 7. Like, no need to worry. I'm going to be at 7. But if it's any other tournament, I'm second on after 11 or third on after 12. It's like, hey, what time do you play? I want to come. Okay. So I could play at 4. I could play at 5. I could play at 2:30 or 3. So just be there around. Like, they're like, what do you mean? You don't know what time you play? Like, if you're not the first match up, no. Like, it's tough to explain. And Patrick was trying in simplifying the scoring format, condensing. It's like, it's a set time. No match goes longer than 45 minutes. Like 45 to 50 minutes, you got about 5 minutes off, and then the next match is on. The whole point is to try to get people interested in tennis, force them to sit there to watch, not force them, but give them an avenue to sit there and watch it and be like, oh, look at how dynamic these guys are moving from the ground. Like, look at the power that they're, tennis seems like a pretty cool, let me, maybe try learning about it. And that's the whole point. It's not going to replace, I would say, like any ATP tour event. It's just something to try to draw in younger fans and say, come check out this sport. It's really cool if you give it a chance. And I think that's the whole point behind UTS. And to me, it makes total sense. It's like, if UTS is happening and I play another one, we play in the US, it's going to be really easy to tell my friends what time I play.
Yeah.
And now later, if they then catch a love for tennis and they want to follow it, then I'll have to explain the Grand Slams, 250s, 500, 1000s. Really, we could just start with the score. 4 tournaments a year in which you play 3 out of 5 sets. Everything else is going to be 2 out of 3. You're playing a set to 6, but you got to win by 2. And if it gets to 5 all, then you can go to 7 on sometimes, but it's really not like it's a very tough thing to explain to somebody who's used to basketball and football. Yeah. And to me, I think the UTS format, the scoring system, it makes total sense in achieving its goal of just trying to simplify it, bring younger people into the sport so that hopefully the sport can then continue to grow. So I enjoyed UTS. I think it's great. I look forward to hopefully getting the opportunity to play it in the future. But I think it's a really, really smart initiative to just do something outside of the normal confines of what we're used to with tennis tournaments. It's just different. They got music playing in between. People don't have to worry about their kids being quiet. You can bring your kids. They can scream and yell all they want. And then maybe those kids may see that and say, I want to play this sport. Who knows? But I like the out of the box thinking to try to bring more people into the sport. I think it's great.
Yeah. And to be honest, at the end of the day, the fans actually love it. Like I tweeted on our account. I was like, it doesn't matter how you feel about the UTS. People are loving this. Like when we were there they were out here getting drinks, or having the time of their lives, or out here, you know, the DJs even engaging with it. Like I remember there was one of the match with like Rube. I think like if a player is like messing up or complaining or they're not happy, the DJ
started playing some little
some shade.
Because the thing is with us British, we are a bit cheeky. We do this type of stuff. And like I think at one point like Runa even like pointed the middle finger at like the DJ because he was like, but he was enjoying.
He smashed the ball at him as well.
He smashed the ball at him after. But the craziest thing about that, even after all of that, because obviously you guys have to like talk right after your set and stuff.
The quarters, whatever.
Yeah, and he was. But even that, like, it was still like engaging. Like he was even like, oh, we know how it is. I was just out here having fun. My bad, whatever. Like everyone was just loving it. Or even it's funny, we're seeing people's reaction when Rublev was all up the umpire's face.
Yeah, he was like,
yeah, he was like, but what a lot of people didn't notice, it was funny seeing people's reaction on Twitter because people were like, you know, obviously it was all negative and I get it, but in person, we were all having fun. Like even the umpire was like, just concerned over his safety. Like it was more about that. But everyone was like, we were all crackling. Like even him, Rublev was even like laughing and stuff. Like, you know, there was a lot of money down the line. So that is why they started playing for their lives. Like I was laughing. Like I was like, these boys remembered the prize money and they were out here playing like it counts. Like this was a grand slam. I was like, guys, relax. It's UTS. But no, one thing about Patrick, like he loves the sport. I mean, Jermaine Jerkins, like he told us that so many times. Like, it was nice.
He's a tennis nut. He loves watching tennis. He loves talking. I've had so many conversations with Patrick, just where I could just go up to him at a tournament and just be like, Patrick, like, can I just talk to you? What do you think about this? And we could sit there and just talk about tennis, talk about the history of tennis, talk about, you know, strategy. Or when I was working with a player who struggles with this specific thing. I mean, I've reached out to Patrick on multiple times, just trying to get his input because of the things that he's seen. He's been around the game for so long. He's extremely knowledgeable about it. And we have great conversation. It's super funny to me to see like the discourse around him, especially on social media, which social media you hear. There's so much negativity out there, but like people who don't really know him, who've never talked tennis with him to see how much he loves the sport and why he wants the sport to grow. It's funny to me when I read a lot of the negative, I would say, comments, and just hearing that is just about him as a person, but these people who don't know him, they've never held the conversation with him. They look at, you know, the social media presence and they say, oh man, I just don't like the guy. And I'm like, you have no idea. Patrick's been so warm and welcoming to me simply because I was close with Jameer and Jameer was with Serena. I would they would practice and I would just go and I would text Jameer before practice. Because I've known Jameer was like the first tennis idol I ever had. Like he's from Atlanta. So he was every racket that I used from the age of probably 5 or 6 to 15 was one of his old rackets because he was sponsored. I wasn't. So I used his hand-me-down Babolat Pure Draws for years. And then I got like 15 and I started using Donald Young's hand-me-down rackets until I got to college. So like those have been my guys my entire life. So I've known Jameer. He was the first. I used to wear ankle braces because he wore ankle braces. That's how much I loved him. Like literally, I would just we call them hands. Hands wore ankle braces. I told my dad I want ankle braces for protection because that's what he was doing. So when he was with Serena, I texted him and say, hey, what time are you guys practicing? He'd be like, oh, 9 a.m. Well, maybe I'm not practicing until 11 to 12. I would show up at 9:30 and just sit in the stands. Like I can remember Roland Garros sitting in Chatrier, like on one of the front rows and just watching them practice. It's an empty stadium. It's like 9 a.m. It's kind of cold. And I'm just sitting there watching them. And every now and then hands would come over. He'd say something to me. And I think Patrick saw me a lot, just kind of watching their practices. And then he saw me, started conversations. After I qualified in the Aussie in 2019, Patrick messaged me directly saying, congrats on qualifying in. Would you like to practice with Serena tomorrow? I was like, yeah, for sure.
I do remember.
And he has always been so welcoming me. Like, I have a good result. Chris, congratulations. No, I'm here if there's anything you ever need. I've been to the academy and got a chance to train there. Like, he's always been super warm and welcoming to me. So like when I see a lot of this stuff, people talk about it, I'm just like, if you don't actually know the person, it's very, very tough to just throw these negative comments, these negative remarks about who you think he is as a person. If you disagree with something that he's done or something that he says, it's fair criticism. It's fair criticism. But when you're taking what you might see on social media and then assassinating his character, like who you think that he is, to me, I see it and I'm like, oh, these people have no idea. If you want to criticize things that he said or done and criticize him on its merit, go right ahead. No one is absolved from criticism. But when you're getting into he doesn't care about the sport, he's all about himself. Like, you guys have no idea how many people and players that he's helped throughout the years that he wants no credit for. He doesn't look to take, he helps from behind the scenes. I'm here if you need me, you let me know. So I love to see what Patrick's doing with UTS and I hope it continues to grow.
I think a lot of people confuse his love for the sport and the support that it has with the players as clout. I think that's the thing. So and obviously a lot of the coaches there's some coaches where they're behind the scenes, and I think some people are so used to that as well. And he just wants to, not only he wants to do that, but he also wants to help push the sport. Patrick, he makes so many great points on how to market the sport better. And
100%. That's the very reason that the coaches during UTS are also mic'd up, because he feels that fans want to hear what the coaches say. They also want to engage with the coaches' personalities.
Exactly.
In every other sport, besides tennis, coaches at some point will be mic'd up. You get to kind of hear what they say to the player, but it's almost like in tennis for so long, it's like the players out there doing it, and you have a coach, but the coach is just they have no say so. They have no personality. They just have to come sit there and sit. Seen, not heard. And he's like, well, how is this helping grow the sport? He's like, it's okay for coaches to have a name for themselves. It's okay for coaches to market themselves. Like, and he's not the first to do it. That's the funny thing. I feel like people forget. That's coaches of yesteryear. I'm not going to say names, but coaches of yesteryear and other generations who've also marketed themselves exceptionally well. But I think for some reason with him, it's like, I don't like the way he's doing it. It's like, man, this isn't new. He's just doing it on a bigger scale. But coaches for years have marketed, even local coaches in Atlanta, like tennis, like they always market themselves and never really bothered me. I'm like, clearly you have a good following with your players. As long as you have a good rapport with your players and you're a good person, a decent person, whatever you do, bro, that's on you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It is what it is. But just for some reason, he gets this rap on it.
On what you kind of touched on it, like with marketing the game, like how do you think the sport can kind of sell itself better, Chris? Because you've done a lot as well. And shouts out to you. I love the episode you did with Ben Shelton, Francis Tiafoe.
Yeah,
on the
that was so dope. That was really dope.
That's when you wrote down the whole start time thing. I was cracking up when you were like, oh yeah, when your boys like text you about, when you're going to be on the court, like what time? Like because it's something that as fans we're used to it, but like to kind of draw new people in, it's hard
tough.
Work.
It's tough. Hard work. You got to have somebody who's really committed and wants to learn, because you can't. It's tough. To be honest, I don't have the answer. So I'm not going to even get up here and pretend like I know how to do it. Like, I have no idea. I think that the game always benefits and grows when there are stars kind of leading that charge. And I think on the men's side, you're going to see a lot of that with Alcaraz, Sinner, Holger Rune. Like, the guys of the younger generation, like, are going to push the game, I think, to great heights. Obviously, Novak is still right there, and he's still leading that pack, and everyone is chasing him. But I think that group of guys, of having those kind of like those three young guys kind of leading that charge, we're still going to look to see Ben Shelton kind of be in there, especially from the US standpoint.
Up there, definitely.
Ben's definitely, especially after his year this year, I think it's going to be a household name in tennis and out of tennis. So, like, I think that, the game is going to be in good hands from that younger generation, but I also still think that forgotten generation to some degree, or that some would say the Zverev, Tsitsipas, Felix, like those guys are still there. Like they're not really falling off. You can look at it and say, oh, the younger guys are kind of surpassed them, but at the end of the day, they're still right there. They're still going to be contending, I think, for years to come for Grand Slam. So it's too early, I think, to write any of those guys off. Most of those guys are still younger than me, sitting at like 25 years old. And we're like, their time has passed. It's like, come on, guys. I think tennis is going to be in a really good spot, but I just think it benefits from stars and personalities just kind of elevating it. Outside of that, the marketing of it, and that's just speaking specifically on the men's side. I think the women's side is in a phenomenal place. I think it's in a really, really exciting space, especially with Naomi coming back, especially with Coco's success. Iga still kind of being that to some degree Novak, kind of the one that people are still chasing. You got Sabalenka, Rybakina, like all of these players. And I think the more parity amongst kind of Grand Slam champions, that's what builds storylines. And I think that's going to help grow the sport. Outside of players just going out there playing and doing and expressing themselves authentically, I don't really have the answer as what else could help grow the sport. I mean, I just hope that, the success that we've seen from these players just continues to grow a younger generation and bring them to the sport. But I'm not going to even pretend like I have any answer outside of I like the way that things are trending right now.
No, that's fair enough. I think that's a completely valid answer. Just before you wrap up, these are also kind of quick fire questions now a bit. Do you prefer playing in the morning or I say AM or PM matches? Like for you when you
morning.
Morning. Really? Because I said to Lucy, I think players prefer playing later.
No,
Morning.
I told Eugene, I was like, listen, they want to go there, do what I have to do, and then get the
I want to know what time I'm going on. The morning, if I'm first or second up, that's fine for me. Like first or second is fine. But also those later matches, man, the thing that there's so much waiting that goes along with it. Even if you say you have a start time of 7:00, I wake up early all the time. So it's like by the time I wake up at 7:30, I have breakfast at 8. It's like
it's a long day.
All right, man. Like let's because then you don't want to be too tired. One thing I started doing when I have late matches is I've started to do espressos, which I'm not a coffee drinker. Like coffee doesn't usually affect me like that. Okay. But I gotta go. Actually, here's another good story I'll tell you. So when I played Mannarino in Miami, we had multiple rain delays, and it was later in the evening already. And we I had played Barrere. And I think I had to play Mannarino the next day because on the bigger draws in the 1000s, you usually have a day off. But if you go far enough, there's going to be one day where you got to go back to back. So I finished Barrere. I'm like an emotional wreck. And I think I had to play back-to-back days that day. But nonetheless, either way, I played Mannarino. We were set for later in the day. And rain pushed it back. So we get out there. We're late going on court. We get on court. We played 3 games. When we walked on court, because I don't think I had fully figured out my emotions, like what I was feeling when I walked on court, and it wasn't that many people there because we played on, I think, the second or third stadium, but it was later in the evening. It wasn't that many people there. When they announced my name and I walked out, I could feel the emotion from the night before of the Barrere match kind of coming back for some reason. They said my name and I'm walking on and I can feel it. And I'm like, ugh. I was like, you definitely can't cry right now. Like, man up, like figure it out. So I'm like walking on, I'm like, ugh. And so I go on court, we go, I'm not playing that well, but we start off, I think you get up 2-1 and then it rains. We go off the court for like a couple of hours actually. And at this point it's like late, it's like 10 p.m. or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I need something that's gonna wake me up. Like I'm tired, these late matches, like they start getting you. So I go and I get a double espresso. I think I got a single, but my coach is a coffee aficionado. He loves coffee. He goes, I think that's a double. So I was like, oh, whatever. So I had it. They said it was a single. I was like, can I get another one? So I had 2 what I thought were singles.
Oh, no.
My coach said, I think that each one of those was a double. I'm like, whatever. Coffee doesn't usually affect me anyway. We finally get on court. We go back on court at 2-1. And I want you guys to actually go back and watch it just so you know I'm not lying. I played the most locked in tennis of my entire life for 10 minutes when I went back on court. Like when I say it went from 2-1 to 4-1 like that. And if you go back and just go to my Miami match with Mannarino, 2-1, and then look at when we came back, I think I broke at like 15. I hit some of the craziest shots I've ever hit. And I was just like,
Just
I was so locked in. It was nuts. So like that. So to me, since that happened, and then I ended up crashing. I ended up getting broken back in the first, and I won it in a breaker. But like those 2 games, there's 10 minutes of the best tennis I've ever played in my entire life, and I'm not exaggerating. So when you get a chance, go back and just watch just those 10 minutes from 2-1 to 4-1 in the first set of Manarino. It was a joke. Like even the commentator goes, "Good grief, Christopher!" I had like a volley that was like tailing away off the sideline. I like was picking up forehands up the line, like catching it on the rise. It was nuts.
In the zone.
And the whole time I was just like, and then when it crashed, I crashed, and then it kind of leveled out. I just needed to kind of get going, you know?
Yeah.
So no, I don't like late matches like that. I enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoy when people can kind of pack in and not having to deal with the sun is nice. But I'd much rather give me a first or second on. I know when I'm gonna play. I can time my day properly. Like I said, I like to control as much as I can. So like it's easier to control the time I go to wake up, breakfast, with the car, get to the site. Everything is a little bit easier. When you're third and fourth later in the day, there's just too much that one person retires. Now you're scrambling, trying to speed up everything. One match goes super long. Now you got to slow everything down. It can be a bit much.
Fair play. And just second to last question now, like there's been a lot of talk about the balls on tour. So like players complaining about like the use of different balls when you go to different tournaments. I mean, I don't think there's a solution, but like for you, have you found that to be an issue with kind of, throughout the year or not so much?
So the thing is, this is my first year really doing a full tour level schedule. Last year, I played a lot of tour events, predominantly tour events, but I still had a decent amount of challenges. This year, I was pretty much full tour with the exception of like those 3 weeks in Korea. And so I don't feel like I'm as experienced. Like for me, it's just like, whatever. What is the ball? There's certain balls like I don't like, but it's kind of like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, it's just like, it is what it is. It's just kind of like, I'm gonna play the cards I'm dealt. If they telling us we're using this ball, I don't really like this ball, but I got to try to find a way to make it work. So I don't think too much about it. I would say this year could have been a combination of just playing more tennis than I've ever played. But I, like a lot of players, I started to feel the arm a little bit more than I had before. I was like, man, forearm is really starting to cause me some issues. I need to warm it up a little bit better, a little bit more, thorough with that. But like, I haven't put too much thought in it. Like I think I would love to just use, maybe 4 or 5 balls throughout the whole year and just keep it consistent. Leading up to Australian Open, we all go use the Aussie Open ball. I think that's pretty common. Like I think that's what I think we're all preparing for is the Aussie Open ball. After that, when there's that gap between hard court events afterwards, Dunlop is the ATP sponsor. Maybe we just all use the Dunlop ATP ball for everything from Acapulco, Los Cabos, to Indian Wells, Miami, all that uses the same ball. And then when we go to the clay, let's just use the Roland Garros ball the whole way through. Like I think there's a Dunlop clay court ball that they use or something. It's just there are a lot of changes. I'm new to it, so I'm just kind of like I show up and I'm like, these balls, all right, yes, whatever. So I don't really have that strong of an opinion on it. It's just like, I love the US Open ball. I love the Dunlop Aussie Open ball. Really my favorite ball, probably both of those because they're quicker through the air, they move fast. But I mean, what do we go like, until the ATP decides to, or the ATP figures it out? Like I'm gonna show up and whatever balls they give me at the practice desk, I'll be like, all right, this is what they. But I know a lot of guys who've dealt with shoulder injuries and elbow injuries, like they're very much on it. Like I know some guys have said they've started to plan their schedule based on the ball being used. Like you check the fact sheet before the entries close and say, hey, they're using that ball. I'm not playing that tournament because that ball kills my elbow. So I'm gonna go play this tournament instead. So there are some guys that are doing that. I'm just kind of like, I try to find as many hard courts and now grass courts as I can, and we just run with it.
That's interesting. To be fair, Eugene did suggest, like on our last pod, that we should have like just one ball for each of like different surfaces. So hard court, that's good ball for hard court. Clay, that's a ball for clay. And grass, and that's
and maybe one more for like indoor. Maybe a different ball for the indoor.
That's true. Yeah, that's it.
But I mean, I don't really know if there's a clear solution. Lucy, do you want to go for the last closing question?
Yeah. So obviously season's done, going to 2024. So what are like, I know you said that you're not really too much into like focus on something specific because all that pressure was a lot and stuff, but what are your goals for like the next season that's starting in a couple of days?
Yeah, very quickly. I would say I think the natural progression like now is for me, like I would love to get inside the top 20. That's what I wanted. I would love to be a top 20 player. But that's not, I would say where I've changed is I can have goals, but my training and all that stuff isn't predicated on completely just obsessing over the goal. Like I'm not in the gym saying like hey, each rep, like top 20, top 20, top 20. Like it's like, no, like, yes, that is where I want to be. I want to kind of, and then we kind of move in steps. You know, I wanted top 100. I didn't even think about top 50. It just kind of came. So like, I would love to, you know, solidify myself inside the top 20. But at the end of the day, like, kind of like what I said earlier is I just want to be consistent in my process. I don't want to allow anything or any outside distractions or any, you know, anything to get in the way of my tennis and my preparation of controlling what I can control. That's my attitude. That's my effort. That's my gym work. That's the practice court. That's getting treatment. Like those are the things that I know are completely under my control. And if I can stay consistent in being as professional as I can with those things, to me, that's an attainable goal because it's something I have complete and utter control over. So that's where really my goal is. It's like, hey, making sure I'm doing my warm-ups and my cool downs, making sure if we need to get, we say we're going to do 30 minutes of feeding 3 times a week, like even like saying like, hey, let's make sure we're getting these feeds in every single, you know, 3 times a week. Let's do what we say we're going to do. And if I stay consistent with that and I don't allow any outside distractions to kind of get in the way of that, I'll take whatever the result is. So I think that's kind of my goal is to continue to control what I can control as best as I can. But I would love for that to put me inside the top 20 at some point this year.
Love that. You can definitely see that as well. It's a great way to finish.
No, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm happy. I'm so excited for next season, to be very honest. I'm really, really excited, especially that, you know, and when I say we, I'm talking about like the Black players and stuff. Like we've had such an amazing year, like the wins, the matches, the quality of the matches. I mean, the second week of US Open, we had the fact that we had, you know, Shelton and Francis like playing against each other. I know it sucks because it's like one has to win, but
yeah,
we took that. I remember Eugene and I were taking that moment like, this is crazy. Like, you know, we haven't seen in such a long time, especially with the ATP side. You know, at least with WTA, we had Serena and Venus is even still here. She literally just gave an update saying that she's coming next year for Indian Wells and stuff. Like she is not stopping. But in terms of that ATP side, we haven't had that for such a long time. So honestly, like, shout out to you guys. And thank you for giving us such a great season. Like it's been so incredible. And
it really
2024 is going to be I'm so excited.
Even my dad. My dad, he's a tennis fan, but not so much. Like, but yeah, he was just blown away by a Wimbledon run. He was like, "Oh, when's Chris gonna be playing?" Like, so he was literally tracking your progress, like each round by round, and because he knew you were there, constantly texting me, "Oh, but is Chris playing today?" Like, always wanted to know when you were going to be on. So yeah, like Lucy said, man, just thank you for just the season you had and like just being consistent and obviously giving us your time here now. Like, we much appreciate it. Because obviously it's like your off season and yeah, it's a busy time. But yeah, we've got a lot of material. It's been well over an hour. Like I wasn't expecting it to go this long.
Yeah, I know. I told when I wasn't kidding when I said I'll give you guys as much as you need. So I'm looking at we're like an hour 40, I think. So we're good.
No, much appreciated, Chris, man. But yeah, we'll let you crack on. But yeah, thank you so much. And guys, I mean, me and Lucy did say we're going to bring you something special. So
yes, yes. A nice Christmas gift.
Indeed, exactly. And what a way to close out the year, man. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. And until the next one.